Translation is that which transforms everything so that nothing changes. Good afternoon. I, Vanshika Avasthi, along with my co-felicitator, Ms. Nashra Khan, welcome you all to the virtual international workshop on translation studies, culture, media, and demographic expanse, organized by Amity School of Languages, Amity University, Lucknow, convened by our professor, Dr. Kumkum Ray, in collaboration with Mugla Sitki Koҫhman University, Turkey. Whoever said that language and communication are key factors in our societal setup was a genius. It is quite evident that culture and translation are related to each other and go hand in hand. The aim of translation is to achieve semantic equivalence, and that can only be achieved with a good knowledge of the target language and the source language's cultural backgrounds.
The workshop's major goal is to spread awareness of the unquestionable importance of translation studies in cross-disciplinary fields of knowledge while fostering a strong sense of national pride. It's to help people comprehend the necessity for unheard voices to be heard and to instill the value of conducting research in unexplored terrain. In order to reconsider and reassess the general theory and practices of voices in literary studies, it is intended to facilitate interdisciplinary engagement, debates, and discussions between the faculty members of various departments.
Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray, Senior Cambridge Honours graduate from Lady Shri Ram College, Delhi University, was awarded the best thesis for her PhD degree on Henry Louis Le de Rozier, the first Anglo-Indian nationalist poet. Ma'am is an educational social activist with 48 years of teaching experience. She is the external evaluator and guide of the various PhD scholars. Ma'am is the founding member, professor, and director of Amity School of Languages. Her anthology, Breathe Free, Flow Free, published by Notion Press, is a reflection of challenging the status quo in literary narratives through poems.
Translation is the exercise of extending the life of a text and giving it new meanings and interpretations, which come with new readers. In the process of translation and transformation, the original finds newer avenues for language and becomes a dynamic entity accepted in different cultures and realms. Language has the power to move and navigate, and it is the task of translation studies to show it.
With this, I would like to welcome Professor Kavita Rastogi. She is a professor at Department of Linguistics in University of Lucknow. Professor Kavita Rastogi started her NGO Society for Endangered and Lesser Known Languages that was formally registered in 2015. The society works for the protection and preservation of marginalized and weaker languages. She has published extensively in the areas of structural linguistics, general linguistics, contrastive linguistics, and language documentation and revitalization. She has prepared a dictionary of the technical terms of linguistics in Hindi language. She has 7 books to her credit. She is a life member of many societies and has been awarded 6th H.P. Bhargav Memorial Professional Involvement Award 1999. She had been a member of editorial board of the journal Indian Journal of Languages and Literature, Nagpur, and Aligarh Journal of Linguistics. She was also a member of the Executive Committee of Linguistic Society of India. Presently, she is nominated as a member of Board of Studies, Linguistics by the Vice Chancellor of NEHU Shillong. She has also been appointed as an expert consultant member of Center for Endangered Languages, Tezpur University. Today, ma'am is going to speak on the topic Empowering the Speakers, a participatory approach to Raji revitalization. I would take this opportunity to invite ma'am to enlighten and elaborate on the theme of conference and bestow her blessings on us.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Kumkum Ray for giving me this opportunity to talk and share my work to my fellow participants and colleagues. I wanted to talk on translation or contrastive linguistics, which is also one of my favorite areas. But I want to take this opportunity to tell you about language endangerment, language revitalization, and about the preservation and protection work which I have been doing since last 30 years. So thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. And today I'm going to talk about Raji revitalization, how this work is started, what is meant by endangerment, what is meant by revitalization, and some other things. Hope my talk will give you some food for thought. So, in the beginning, a very quick uh, few points regarding the language. What we think, what is language? We all know that it is an abstract system of symbols. An abstract symbol system which is learned by human while he lives by a child when he or she lives in a society. So that is why we call that language is a social phenomena. In the society or within our family, we learn or acquire language, we inherit it, and that is why we say that it is an inherited phenomena and we inherit it from previous generation, so it runs across generations. Every language is a unique phenomena. Each language is different from other. Though there are certain similarities, we often find similarities at the level of sounds, at the level of words. That is why we can group them together and we talk about language families. But apart from certain similarities, there are many different facts, different features in each language. That is why we linguists say that each language is a unique phenomena. Why? Because it is a repository of a cultural tradition. It represents a cultural representation, tradition, the of a certain community, of a certain society. And all this together gives us, the humans, an identity. And we can very well, if someone is talking and if someone is interacting with us, we can very well ascertain to which community or to which region that person belongs to. So these are the important basic characteristics of language. But what is the linguistic irony of the present word? I would like to say there are around more than 7,000 languages spoken around the world. But the situation is that only 4% languages are used by the 96% of the speakers. Majority of the speakers speak only 4% of the languages. So we can call these languages dominant languages, and the others are minority or marginalized or endangered or lesser known languages. So 96% languages are used by only 4% speakers, whereas 4% languages are used by 96% of the speakers. So this is the linguistic irony of the present scenario. That is why we linguists want to, the important point here is with times, if we will not try to save these languages, what will happen? These 96% languages, which are presently used by only 4% of speakers, will gradually they are still shifting, and they will, many of them are rapidly shifting towards the dominant languages. So the scenario will be very, 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 very bad, I would like to say, uh, in terms of languages. So the number of languages, which we often boast that there are more than 7,000 languages, only certain languages will be there. So the question arises, why do we want to save languages? Why should we save languages? In my opinion, every language is like a page of encyclopedia. It has different types of informations. It represents different knowledge. It gives us lots of information. It is ecological. It is related to biodiversity. It is related to geographical information. It is related to uh, scientific information. So every time a language disappears, along with the cultural traditions and cultural knowledge it conveys, it's the piece of the planet's living fabric that gets torn off, leaving all the all of the living world more fragile, more vulnerable, and with fewer options for the future. So in my or in our, why I'm using this word our, because we linguists think that this is the reason we should save our languages, because every language is a unique phenomena. So what do we do, what should we do, and what we linguists are doing all over the world? Linguists are trying to save these languages. How? We try to document languages by recording them, by making videos, by transcribing them, by describing their grammars, by preparing dictionaries, and by working, by revitalizing them. Revitalization is currently a new phenomena in the context of India. Uh, in India, earlier we were describing grammars, we were preparing dictionaries, but the revitalization process was not being used by many linguists. So in 1998, when by chance, I happened to meet a community. The name of the community was Banmanus, Banraji, Raute, or Banraute Raji. When I happened to meet them and I came to know about their situation, I I started my work. I started my work with them. So initially, uh, I was working on this tribe. Then gradually, I started working with them, and now I'm working for them. How? My presentation will tell you. So, a short introduction about the Raji community, because once you will be able to contextualize, know the context where they live, how they live, you will be able to relate easily. Raji is one of the last hunter gatherer tribes of Asia. I have myself seen them living in caves. So earlier they used to live in caves and in jungles near the. Uh, Today also, their hamlets, most of their hamlets are quite inaccessible. Uh, on higher altitude, they're all the hamlets are high on higher altitude, and all their hamlets. Actually, this tribe lives in Pithoragarh in 11 small hamlets. And the total population, according to the 2011 census, was only 732. Usually, I don't rely on the government census. So in 2019, I did the census survey, and at that time, their total population was 899, which is very minuscule in number. They are, you can very well visualize the importance of the community for the political party, for the social interaction and others. So they literally they have no value or no importance for others. So at earlier times they used to hunt, and they hunting langur and hunting porcupine was their favorite work. And gradually they learned to cut woods, and they used to make wooden bowls. And but nowadays many of them work as daily wage laborers. They have learned to fish, and they have learned beekeeping, and they have learned farming also. And likewise, a lot of and when I visited them in 1998 for the first time, I observed that a lot of linguistic acculturation was also there. So these are the names of the Raji hamlets, 11 Raji hamlets. This map was made by me only way back in 2001. But later on, I came to know
Excuse
that,
me, ma'am.
yes,
Ma'am, your slide is not changing.
oh, it's
It's fixed
changing
on
from,
the first slide.
it's changing from the my side. Uh,
Um,
let me stop sharing, then I will again.
sure, ma'am.
Mm, uh,
Excuse me, ma'am.
is it changing now?
Ma'am, your screen is not shared.
Is okay, okay. Uh, Actually, this is a very new platform. I'm using this for the first time.
Ma'am, we have your slide, so should we share it?
Let me try one time. Otherwise, I will definitely request you,
Okay, sure, ma'am.
because I'm more comfortable when I'm using my. I'm. Hmm. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
So I think I will, instead of making this full screen, I will make it small only. Is it okay with all of you?
Yes, ma'am, sure, ma'am.
Huh. Okay. So, so I was talking about Raji community. You should have told me earlier. Okay, no problem. So I was talking, giving you a small introduction of Raji community with whom I'm working since last 32 years. So here are two pictures. You can very well see yourself. Uh, the second picture shows how their villages and their hamlets are difficult to reach, how inaccessible they are. So in rainy season, one has to use this trolley to visit their hamlets. So coming to the next slide, I was talking about their hamlets. Presently, they live in 11 hamlets. Earlier, on government records, the number of 10 is mentioned there. So this map was made by me in previous times. So in this map, all the red dots show the Raji hamlets, and they are 10 only. Recently, we came to know that one more village hamlet has come up. So now presently they live in 11 hamlets. So coming to their language, The name of their language is Raji. It is a very common phenomena in anthropology and in anthropological linguists. The name of the tribe and name of the community is often, we find same name for both. And these types of terms are called ethnonyms. But interestingly, Grierson, who did the first linguistic survey of India, did mention about this language, but he used the term jungly. He used the term jungly, and but presently they like to name their language as Rajbari also. The important point which I want to highlight here is so the communicative pattern of the language of this community, uh, which I observed in 1998, is not changed much. Uh, so most of the, or you can say all the members of the community are either bilingual or trilingual. They can easily speak the dominant language. The dominant language of the area is Kumauni. As I mentioned, that they live in their hamlets lie in Pithoragarh or Udhampur and districts. So they are the dominant languages of the area. The dominant language of the area is Kumauni, and they also know Hindi because all the government officials or the teachers or at marketplaces, uh, the mode of interaction or the language which is the lingua franca of the area is Hindi only. Earlier, there was a residential school. Hope I don't know whether you have idea of residential schools or not. Tribal residential schools were initially made in Western world. In Canada and in Australia, there used to be residential schools for indigenous groups, and children from indigenous groups used to stay there. The objective and the purpose of these residential schools was mainly to train those children according to the modern means of living, according to make them aware of the modern living. And you can say that it was an effort to assimilate them into us, into the ways of living we follow. So that was the objective of this Raji residential school also. But there are certain good points. There were certain good points also, I would like to say, because in 2017 this school was closed, and all the children of Raji residential school were shifted to central school, that is Raji Avasi Vidyalay Balwakot. Why I am telling you about these things? Because uh, for the existence of any language, if we want to if we want some language to flourish, the attitude, uh, apart from linguistic factors, non-linguistic factors are also important. So the attitude of the dominant culture, dominant community, dominant language is very important, and the attitude of the community speakers is also very important. So in case of Rajis, the attitude of the others was very degrading, very demeaning. Teachers of this Raji residential school used to demean them. They used to forbid them not to speak their language in front of others or in front of teachers. So that is why the non-linguistic factors were not playing good role for this language. So giving you a small introduction regarding their customs and their culture. Uh, Time and again, I have tried to collect their folklores and their folk story. Since 1998, I am visiting them regularly. But till date, I have found only one origin story. So there are no stories no songs, and only this kind of beadwork I have found, but presently they don't make these necklaces. And this wooden bowl, these were in ancient time very popular among the Kumauni household, because the wood they used to use to make these bowls was a very different kind of wood, and it was very popular among Kumauni household. But due to forest laws, they were government didn't allow them to cut trees, so they stopped this art also. So presently, neither they make these wooden bowls nor they make these necklaces. So what is the political scenario of this tribe? Uh, their number is, as I mentioned before, their number is very small, so it doesn't attract any political party. Though way back in 1965, Government of India identified them as primitive tribe, and in 1967, the status of ST was given to them, and now they come under PVTG, that is Primitive Vulnerable Tribal Group. But I have seen myself that there is a very small economic and educational development uh, once they were given PVTG status. uh, I expected the development to be fast, but it was not that fast. So, coming to the genetic relationship of this language, which is named as Rajbari now, Grierson, according to Grierson, it belongs to Tibeto-Burman language, but there are certain linguists who said that this language belongs to Austroasiatic family. After comprehensive and very detailed research, I have tried to establish that this language belongs to Tibeto-Burman family. So the important point which I want to highlight, why I started this revitalization program and why I thought of documenting this endangered language. When I met them first time, all the speakers were either bilingual or multilingual. Bilingualism or multilingualism is a very good phenomena. Learning other languages is a very good phenomena. We always learn language. We all of us know more than two languages, but when we start using other languages at the expense of our language, our native language, uh, the the problem arises. So what I noticed or observed at that time, that they were using a highly mixed variety, and what they were doing, they were, instead of they were not only borrowing Hindi, Kumauni, and certain English words for unknown concepts and means those concepts which were not present in their worldview. See, we borrow terms uh, for those concepts which are not in our worldview. That is fine. That enriches our language. But when we start replacing our original words with these borrowed terms, the problem arises. Then, at that point of time, the linguist uh, feels that this should be curbed, or we should tell the community that what process is going on. And the other point which I noticed, that though intergenerational language transmission was there, but domains have shifted. See, we use languages in different domains. We use language at home, at marketplaces, at educational institutions, at government offices. What happens sometimes? You can take your example only. At home, we often speak our mother tongue, or I can give you my example. at my house, we use Avadhi. So Avadhi is my mother tongue. And when I visit marketplaces or some other government official places, I use Khadi Boli Hindi. In university, these days we use a mixed language that is called English. And during our academic interactions and for paper writing or any other things, I use English. So most of us know either 2 or 3 languages. So in different domains, people can use different languages. The problem arises when the domains shrink. So in Raji's case, what was happening? Uh, those small, younger generation were telling their parents that, "Ma, we don't want to use this language." When their mother were using their native language, they used to answer them, or they used to reply them in either Kumauni mixed Hindi or in pure Hindi. That pure or that Khadi Boli Hindi they used to learn from schools, because the medium of instruction was Hindi in their schools, in that Razi residential school. So the status of that language in 1998 was, uh, the community was uh, very, all the community, all the families of the community were below the poverty line. Number of speakers were very, very small. Due to health reasons, their age is not, um they die very early. Reduction in usage can be clearly seen. Attitude of the native speakers were not good towards neither towards their language nor towards their culture, because they understood, they thought at that time, they thought that their language is not able to give them either roti, kapra or makan. So what is the use of using their language um, in any domain? And attitude of the others was not very good. So after analyzing and observing and researching on various aspects, in 2002, I chalked out a Razi revitalization program. Uh, Revitalization, as the term denotes, we try to revive, or try to revitalize that particular language with the help of the community, while using, or with the help of documentation, with the help of description, by making dictionaries, by making. So what is our objective? While when we try to revitalize language, we try to motivate speakers to start using their language in different domains, or uh, if the case is that they have stopped using their language, to start using their language at least in home domain. So after thinking various aspects and after a lot of brainstorming, this revitalization program was envisaged by me in 2002. So I collected data for at least 2.5 years. And later on, I prepared a grammar book of Raji. But frankly speaking, this grammar book was for academic circle only. I gradually realized that this grammar book was not anyway helping the community. So that is why in the beginning I said that initially I worked on the language only. So while working on the language, I prepared this grammar book. Central Institute of Indian Languages, and that grammar book got published. But later on, I started for the other steps of Raji revitalization program. I tried to motivate. Actually, this communities is still very aloof. It is very difficult to interact with them. They don't want to talk to uh, not only to strangers. I have been meeting them since long, but till date, only few of them um, encourage me or they entertain me. So this tribe is it is very difficult. It was very difficult uh, for me to work with them, and it is still very difficult for me to work with them. So, but later on, I shifted my instead of working with elders, I started working with young children. So I found them more open, and they accommodated me, and whatever I used to tell them, sometimes they used to give ideas. And while this kind of interaction, one Raji boy, when he realized that he cannot write his language, whereas he can write English and he can write Hindi also. So he requested me that, ma'am, can you tell me how to write my language? And from there, the idea of giving an orthography system to this oral endangered language came to my mind. And with the help of Raji children, I developed an orthography system for this language. You can see in this picture, the building was of Raji Residential School. I conducted workshops and essay competitions with Raji children and developed an orthography system for this language. Because actually, what I realized that it is not necessary that all the languages should be have written form. But in our society, written language is always given a kind of we keep it on a higher pedestal. So, and there are other advantages also, which I will tell you later on. We can create pedagogical material with the orthography. We can write, or we can create stories. We can create poems. What these children are presently doing. So the first step was, with the community's help, to create orthography for Raji children, and later on, after collecting lots of words of this language and phrases of this language, this dictionary was created by me. And I'm happy to share with all of you that this is not a bilingual dictionary. This is a trilingual dictionary. So all the entries are given in Raji, written in Devanagari in this developed orthography, then in English and in Hindi also. And each and every each entry has its usage, their usage, and lots of pictures are also there. So I was very happy to share this dictionary, the final form of this dictionary, with my community members, and they were very happy to see this this dictionary also. So after developing the orthography, an alphabet reader was compiled by me. In this alphabet reader, all the Raji alphabets are there, vowels and consonants and words, and several sentences, and basic word list also there. In 2017, actually revitalization, for any revitalization, is a very complex phenomena. So you have to evaluate it time to time, and and one must critically evaluate. One must critically evaluate. So in 2017, instead of evaluating this revitalization program, which was started by me, I asked a team of members to evaluate this Raji revitalization program. And I am happy that after evaluation and after a lot of discussion, we made some changes. I was talking about this alphabet reader. When this alphabet reader was published, it got published with the help of UGC, and I distributed it free of cost among the Raji children. I told them how to use this alphabet reader, how they can write their language with the help of this alphabet reader. And I also requested teachers of Raji Residential School to at least um, take one class in a month in Raji with the help of this alphabet reader. But during our evaluation program, we came to know that these all things were in theory also, were only theoretical level. No one was using that alphabet reader. The good point was all the children of Raji Residential School were aware that there is a Raji alphabet reader, but no one was able to use it. When we conducted some workshops with the Raji children, they were not able to write their language. So I made few changes in the revitalization program, conducted few workshops for script reintroduction, so and incorporated some cultural activities in the revitalization program so that community will be benefited. They will get some economic help also. So we conducted jewelry making workshops, and we tried to conduct bowl making workshop also, but we didn't succeed. We conducted linguistic resources, creation of linguistic resources workshop, and other trainings also. So what were the outcomes? uh, Script reintroduction workshop was very successful. Children were very happy. They learned the name of their language. They learned how to write in their language. They made nameplates, and they were very happy during the workshop. And they asked us to come again and conduct workshop, and they were happy to attend that workshop. And later on, we conducted jewelry making workshop with the Raji women, and all the money, when these things were prepared, we gave money, we distributed money. But in 2018 and 2019, consecutively 2 years, we conducted workshops. And in 2023, in February only, I was able to, um, you can say, sell those pieces. Actually, during these workshops, they made in total 13 pieces. And during an international workshop, which was held at Berhampur University this year only, many international and national participants, they bought those pieces. So now I am going to transfer the money to the community. So I hope now this act will encourage them to make more pieces for themselves. And at linguistic and linguistic point of view, from linguistic point of view, what we earn while making these workshops, now we have a manual of making this neck piece, written in Raji, in English, and in Hindi also. And I know that this is a very great achievement, because this is a lost art, and now we have a small manual. In 2019, we conducted a workshop of a story creation. I'm going to talk about this at a little in detail. creating stories in their own language, in their Raji language. In this picture, you will be able to see all these books. These stories are created by Raji children during these workshops, and we got it published, and later on I distributed these storybooks. But see these hanging libraries, this hanging library, this was, there's an NGO called Pratham Books. I requested Pratham Books to to they have a scheme. Actually, they have a scheme. They established this kind of libraries in far off places. So on behalf of this school, I requested them to establish a library for uh, tribal children, because in this school not only Raji children, they reside, Bhotias also there. And I'm very happy that all the children are benefited by this library. So during our workshop, when we observed that children are fond of this library, we took advantage of this situation and we requested them to take few storybooks from this library and translate them. So our whole methodology was participatory methodology, and we employed three tools. So translation was our first tool for the creation of stories, and narration was the second, and the spark was the third. So I would like to highlight the tool of translation which we used during this workshop. What we did, we provided storybooks to them according to their age. So we helped them in selection of the stories and asked them to read the stories twice or thrice. Uh, Intentionally, we selected children from class 6 to 9 so that they can translate their stories. So in total, eight students participated in this workshop, and they translated four stories. Uh, we all know, who are aware in translation or who does translation, that back translation is very important to judge or evaluate your translation. So after 2 days, when we got those translations, we asked few senior students to use this back translation method and back translation those stories. So after this whole process, in the end, we only get one story which was finalized by the whole team, the team of Raji students, and they titled it as Simi Gunehare. Instead of talking narration and a spark, I will move to the next slide, that is challenges faced during the translation method. During the first activity, we faced all the problems one faces in the prose translation. As the source and target languages belong to different cultural groups. Different is a very simple word here. The cultural milieu of our cultural milieu and the cultural milieu of Rajis are poles apart. Uh, you can say they are two ends of one continuum. So their living style, how to eat things, what to eat, and how to behave with others. Um, when I'm saying how to behave with others, I would like to give you one example. Till date, they don't do namaste because they consider themselves as kings of forest, jungle ke raja. They don't do namaste. Any kind of salutation, any word for salutation is not there. So their whole cultural milieu is very different. The whole worldview is very different from ours. So the source and the target languages were very different. The first problem faced by the children was finding terms, that is nearest equivalent. We all know that while doing translation, what we do, we try to find the nearest equivalent. Same is uh, to find out the same is next to impossible, but we try to find out the nearest equivalents for and finding those nearest equivalent was very difficult for them also. At few places, the children were not able to connect with the story due to these reasons. The content and the words were not from their worldview. For example, the title of the storybook was Shh, Sha Sha Sha, Simi Sun Rahi Hai. Sha Sha Sha, when we say shh, shh, this kind of sound is not, they were not familiar with this. They were not at all familiar with this. So they refused to put this in their title. That is why they used that Simi Gunehare. Then one Simi, the name Simi, they didn't like it at all because there was no girl in their whole community which was named as Simi. So they told me that, ma'am, we can name it Kiran Gunehare, Babita Gunehare, or something like that. But Simi Gunehare, no, we cannot say that. So Simi Sunrahi ki jagah par they used Simi Babita Gunehare. They found it difficult to render the ambiguous pun in this the whole line. Many of them were not skilled enough to translate the text holistically. Most of them did word by word translation. In absence of standardized spellings, most of them wrote Raji words differently. And when we asked a different group of Raji children to read the translated text aloud, they were not comfortable. We noticed that the participants were not interested in carrying the same activity. They were very bored while doing this activity. For 2 days we did this workshop for translation. So that is why third day we invented a new, because while conducting workshop, you cannot cannot make a fixed path. You have to invent something. And this is very important when we work with Raji, when we work with Raji children. So then and there we invented new way and we started narrating them, and they loved this tool. They loved narration, and we narrated them a story in Hindi, and then we asked them to write that story in their own language, and asked another children to read that story in Raji. And that is how we finalized two stories. And the next tool which we used, which was also impromptu, just to we gave them few ideas so that they can weave a story around those ideas. And because when we narrated stories, those stories were also not according to their worldview. They were not very similar to their environment. So this third tool worked very well during the workshop, and they liked it very much. And many of them started weaving stories around those concepts. And that is how we developed and created 5 storybooks. So we are still working with Raji children. We are creating pedagogical material. Presently, many Raji children are conducting once a week class for younger generation of Raji children, and they teach Raji number names there. Raji color terms, and that is how I'm trying to revitalize Raji language. So, in conclusion, I would like to say, so the whole idea behind these activities, the workshops which I have been or we have been conducting since 2017, is to help the community in the preservation of their traditional art and to make them economically independent. We aim specifically at linguistic revitalization through community development. While Raji revitalization is the main goal, we are trying to achieve it via revitalization of the Raji people. Actually, most of the Western academia thinks if the community is not interested, if community doesn't want you to revitalize their language, linguists should not go there. Linguists should not help them. But in my view, in South Asian region, if the community is not interested in the revival, and if the linguist will not assert, the language will not be preserved. Because if the community is not interested in the revival of their language and culture, for whatever reason may be, a linguist must leave them. According to Western media, we should leave them in their situation and should wait till the time the community is ready for revitalization program, or come forward and ask the researcher to help them. But in my opinion, that with constant effort and motivation, we can turn communities' passivity to active participation. And I have seen this happening in with my community with whom I am working since last 30 years. So I'm grateful to all the informants who have been helping me, many Jaljeevi local speakers, principal and teachers of Raji Avasi Vidyalaya, and different bodies who funded my projects: UGC, ICSSR, FEL, UK, Wiki Tongues, and Firebird Foundation, and many other institutions. And here is the team with whom I work. And thank you to all the participants for your patience. And if you have any question or comments, please feel free to ask.
Wonderful, wonderful session. And this was a really very innovative way to keep the community along with the revitalization of any language that is being lost to us. That was a great presentation, Dr. Rastogi, and I'm so thankful to you for having bringing this out to our participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Ray, for giving me this opportunity to share my work among the fellow colleagues who are not basically linguists. Because usually I talk about my work in linguistic circle. But thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. Yes.
No, I'm sure everybody is benefited by this, and that is how we can revive languages which very few communities have and try to preserve them and move them on, which is a very big effort. So I must thank you for that effort and motivation that you're doing and working with these people for the last 30 years. It's a great contribution, not only to their community, but to a language which is so little known. So it's a great move, Dr. Kavita Rastogi. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for elaborating further on the very theme of our conference by discussing and sharing your valuable thoughts among us. We respect that you took your valuable time off of your busy schedule to contribute to this international workshop. We, as a family of Amity, look forward to hold on to strengthening and fostering our amiable relations with you and to have you as a member in more such workshops. If the audience is uncertain and confused, the webinar won't be effective. To ensure that everyone's questions are answered and to hear from our audience, we are giving the platform to all. To be given the chance to talk, raise your hands or write in the chat box. The stage is entirely yours.
Very good afternoon, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, Bhamini, please.
Ma'am, I would like to ask you a question that you have been working for the Raji community and with Raji community since 30 years. So what kind of difficulties you faced in all this procedure? Because, working with the tribals, I think that it must have been a very tough job for you. So can you please tell us what kind of difficulties you faced?
Uh, your question needs another presentation, Bhamini, because any researcher who does field work faces various kinds of difficulties. The first and foremost is a good training is needed. Second, grant should be there. Then geographical situation. Whatever planning I do for each of my field work, it often fails due to sometime due to bad weather conditions, sometimes due to some other reasons. Uh, what happened once that I what I planned my visit, and there are sometimes there are political reasons also, because you are supposed to work with a community, and community people should be free at that time. Once when I visited them, there were there were elections and local elections, so you have to consider many factors are there. And
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, as I mentioned earlier, uh, one point that is most important, you have to be patient. Because what happens these days, we as a researcher, we prepare a questionnaire and we visit the field, and we want our informant to give us all the answers in just one sitting. Try to be give them time. They are giving you time, that time in which they earn their daily living. That is the time they are providing you, they are giving you. So respect them and be patient with them. uh, don't be in hurry, and try to understand
Yes,
their
ma'am.
moods also. So many kinds of hurdles are there, Bhamini. So as you start working in the area, gradually you learn many things. Gradually you learn many things. You
Yes,
have
ma'am.
to have. There are such small things. You have to be dressed up as the local you cannot wear different clothes. You cannot lots of makeup and go there. So many things are there, many factors are there. So I faced lots of problems. And as I mentioned, that they are a very shy people. They don't want to interact with others. Do you believe still, when I visit them, they just see me and they run away. Only these children, they come to me. So these things are there. So you have to be. Hope.
Yes,
Thank you, ma'am.
I agree, Dr. Kavita Rastogi. You have to be one of them. You have to
Yes.
become a part of their community to really interact. Unless and until they are comfortable, they will not interact. That's a very big factor.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Anyone else who has any doubt can put up their question. Okay, so since no one has raised their hand and came forward to with their questions, so I request the participants if they have any doubt or any questions, they can tell us on the WhatsApp group and we'll forward it to the ma'am.
As someone rightly quotes, words travel the world and translation does the driving. I would like to embrace this event with one such eminent speaker among us, who would give us wings to fly, Professor Seval Aine Karakabe. She is the Erasmus Coordinator and Assistant Professor at Mugla Sitki Koҫhman University, Turkey. Professor Seval wrote her master thesis in German literature. She did her doctorate on the subject of memory, culture, myth, and autobiographical storytelling in German and Turkish. She is a part of Mugla Sitki Koҫhman University since 2009, and the legacy continues till date. I would now call for Seval Ma'am to give an account on the topic Children and Youth Literature in Foreign Language Studies.
So, hello, dear guests. I warmly welcome to you to this workshop. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I hope you are everything is fine there. Okay, can I share my presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to try to choose my presentation. I hope I can manage it. Can you see my presentation now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good. You know me by now where I come from. I'm going to talk about the wait a second. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to talk about the children's and youth literature in foreign language studies. Good. I am going first to tell briefly about German learners and German language education in our university. And I do not want to tell you about the characteristics and functions of children's and young adult literature, but I'm going to tell about mainly encourage students to read literature, children's and youth literature, with a reading diary, and encourage them to read full-length publications, books, and I am going to show you about a study which I did with my students in the department, and about the income from reading children's and youth literature with the reading diary, and the perspective of Turkish students. So the German I would say just please excuse me if I make mistakes. I mainly speak German and Turkish at present, and I am trying to do my best. The German teacher training course program includes language, culture, and literature-oriented seminars And seminars are also offered that are designed to be contrastive, such as comparative regional culture studies or contrastive grammar, but also seminars such as translation from German into Turkish and from Turkish into German. Our students learn German mainly in Turkey. Students master the native language in writing and orally and have learned an intensive German course in the study of foreign language high school. The students therefore learn German for a year before they begin their teacher training course. After 4 years of study, our students have the opportunity to work as a German teacher. Some may work in other fields such as tourism, companies, and translation agencies. Building communication, reading, and writing skills. Intercultural skills are important in foreign language education. In particular, foreign language learners should be encouraged to read and write in the foreign language, which is often a challenge for students when reading literary texts, especially literary books. They need instructions from the teacher. It is very important. Otherwise, they do not read books. Therefore, one should support the students and their reading process with certain strategies. Today, I would like to tell you about a practice-oriented experience of reading literary texts, children's and youth literature with the reading diary. In this context, I will address the reading, writing, and translation activities. The reading diary, I don't know if you know what does it mean, reading diary? What is a reading diary? Have you used a reading diary where at school or at the university? Was that compulsory or optional? Mainly in Germany, we used reading diary at the school, but not at the university. I tried to use a reading diary at the university with my students to support them to read a book completely. What is a reading diary? The most basic from a reading diary is merely a record of what we read. It is a very simple table with columns, date, book, pages read, comments. We write down when we read, what books and articles we read, which pages we actually read that day, and what we learned from the reading. Based on which Manfred Wicke formulates the creative characteristics of the reading diary as follows. In such a document, the students plan and document their individual reading work on the one hand, but they also record their feelings, thoughts, questions, comments, and personal opinions on the text they have chosen on the author. There is also space for illustrations or your own literary texts. The reading process is designed and controlled by students themselves. If necessary, the teacher is always there as an advisor and helper. Creating a reading diary means reading an author's text and at the same time writing your own book on the same topic. It should be noted that Wiki uses the reading diary in a special way as part of project-oriented teaching. Promotion with the reading diary in the university context. According to Hints, the implementation of the reading diary should be action and production-oriented in order to ensure the promotion of reading motivation. The priority of the action and production-oriented procedure is, among other things, the promotion of independence. The reading diary is used to promote reading. The reading diary, which serves to deal with what has been read, promotes individualization and motivation to read. According to Rosebrock and Nix, is the most text-based form of individual documentation of reading experience. From all this, it follows that the reading diary is a kind of tool that helps the reader of literature in his reading activity to structure his thoughts and feelings in dialogue with himself and with the text. Wolfgang Iser describes this mutual influence interaction. The result is an interaction or a relationship between the reader and the text. Overall, reading is described as an interactive, constructive activity and an interaction between signals from the text and one's own knowledge. For Schuster, the reading diary is a suitable means of recording spontaneous reactions in a full copy. The thoughts, feelings, approaches to interpretation, difficulties, and problems should not only be written down and at the end, but after each reading phase. The teaching of reading strategies can have a positive influence on literary reading and understanding. To ensure that literary text can be read and understood successfully, reading aids and strategies for dealing with texts that promote reading should be taught. The use of a strategy in a specific reading situation enables the reader to achieve his goal. The different levels of reading and comprehension control the reading comprehension process and thus depend on the goals, and therefore the reading comprehension phases should also be encouraged and made aware. The process of understanding can be self-controlled or controlled by others. The teacher uses guidance techniques to control understanding and draw the reader's attention to the most important passages in the text. In the foreign language studies, the future Turkish-German teachers should be encouraged and enabled to read independently in the long term and outside of the seminar. However, there are a number of reading and comprehension difficulties, as well as a lack of knowledge of reading strategies, reading techniques that cause reluctance. In the Turkish teaching and learning tradition, the creation of a reading diary when reading foreign language literary texts is a rarity. The majority of the German teacher training candidates are of the opinion that reading full text is too much of a linguistic challenge. A reading diary is intended to counteract the excessive demands of the foreign language and to support reading comprehension through the teaching and use of reading strategies. Our students read this children's books in German language. These are German children's and youth literature. Students have read these books with the use of reading journals. The reading tasks were given by the teacher after each reading phase, specifically for these books. That is a book for which our students read with a diary, with a reading diary. Okay. Below you can see the reading assignments in German for the reading diary. A book is distributed throughout the semester. In total, they completed 10 reading assignments, tasks by the end of the semester. I'm going to show you the reading tasks formulated in the classroom with the students. And every week they get reading tasks for specific pages. And these are also writing tasks. Most of the reading assignments to create a reading diary had to be done at home. The students had 12 weeks for the selected reading strategies and reading techniques with the formulated assignments. At regular intervals, they had the opportunity to give short reports on the status of the work and to ask for help. In this phase, the teacher had to share a lot by selecting and issuing the reading assignments, determining the amount of reading text and providing worksheets in order to inspire the learners to encounter the text and to master the comprehension process together. At the end of the project, the classes were encouraged to reflect on their reading experience and behavior when reading the work with the reading diary. The reading strategies used to facilitate reading and comprehension should be assessed 49 students from grades 1 and 3 who had worked with the reading diary were asked to evaluate the reading diary in relation to reading literature. You see a table with the classes. We have 4 classes, and the classes 1 and 3 used the reading diary and read these books, children books. And after these projects, we evaluated, and the the majority of the students had to previous knowledge and little experience with the reading diary. Very many confused the reading diary with the diary form. And mostly never worked with the reading diary from our students. Only working with the reading diary created an awareness of the fact that different formats and approaches are involved. In the following, the results are presented how the literature reading phase with the reading diary was perceived and whether the students were willing to continue reading with the reading diary. Our students made this experiences, they said, using different sources, accessing information for reading diary. And the teachers' feedback is also important for them on the reading diary, is motivating, is a big motivation for them. And reading literature with reading diary enables reading, writing, and learning. Self-determination of the reading diary, amount of the literary work when reading with reading diary. And the reading diary prepares for the lesson or the seminar. When creating the reading diary, particularly motivating, using different sources to access needed information. Again, the teacher's feedback on the reading diaries, well, as reading German literary text in connection with a reading diary. However, most wanted to determine the amount of reading of the literary text themselves when creating the reading diary. Reading diary prepares for the course, which is also good for us. So, using the reading diary when reading and writing literature in German has a many good they can 1 second. The systematic reading of literature with a reading diary promotes writing in German. And literature reading with a reading diary makes you think about your own and foreign culture. Most liked reading with the reading diary, a total of 20 out of 49 students did not like reading with the reading diary. Most of them were from the first class. They had a big challenge. Reading a full text and writing at the same time were probably too challenging for them. 19 out of 49 students would not continue to use the reading diary when reading. The table shows that grade 3 benefited the most from reading literature with a reading diary. These students were firmly convinced that the creation of the reading diary would help them for class 1, reading the full text and completing the reading tasks, assignments, was a bit too demanding. Again, the reading tasks, you see, and it is very important, the reading phases, what we do before we read and what should we do during the reading activity, and what should we do after the reading assessment. It is very important if we constructed this process. So the students evaluated of the 3 phase models, the classes 1 and 3, as I said, worked with a reading diary, and they carried out 10 read activities and evaluated before, during, and after reading activities, the tasks. These reading activities liked it a lot. We should use this reading assignments before, during, and after reading. The activity before reading, like write a guess about the book title or book cover, or we can speak about the photo before we read the book. And the activity for during the reading, describe one popular and one unpopular character in the book, with name, appearance, and characteristics, for example. And the next, feelings and thoughts of the main character, mark in text and describe, for example, feelings of anxiety and reading aloud, emphasis, partner assessment. They enjoyed this as well. Description of a people, the relationship of the main character to them, or the activity after the reading the book. Writing a letter to a friend or about the main character, for example. The reading orders, writing a synopsis as well as reporting an event and describing the location, did not enjoy it all, not it at all, nor did the diary entire for a person. They not at all liked this activity. So the class 3 expressed their things, their thoughts about for this activity, the effect on language skills. They learned a great deal about the literature, culture, and language of the target language country. Also, prompt intercultural comparison and learned, mainly contributed to expanding the vocabulary of the students, developed a comparative perspective. And the function of the reading diary for the German teacher candidates is, it is a systematic, disciplined approach, not only supports language skills, but also ensures that the literary text is used consciously. Sensitized to literary and intercultural learning, and develops self-confidence and responsibility, and it served as a reminder, as a compass. The students did also translation tasks. For example, they got a text to translate 1 pages or 2 pages. They do this translation activities well. They enjoy, they tend to translate automatically if they learn a foreign language. They are lucky if they get translation activities, and they got from me also translation activities, and they for reading diary. They should also fulfill translation, I think, work as a reading assignments when they read a literary text. As this is also an activity in foreign language learning. In this case, translating specific complicated passages, especially from German into the native language, makes sense as a task for the reading diary in the foreign language context. Translation activity when learning foreign languages. Translation of a text passage from German into the mother tongue, it makes sense as a task. The reading diary as a means of introducing the German language, literature, culture, and history to the prospective Turkish teacher candidates has proven its worth. Reading strategies and reading concepts were conveyed via the reading diary, and the students became active and productive readers. And feedback from the students repeatedly emphasized how important it was for them to be able to structure their reading in a self-determined manner, to design assignments creatively and thereby acquire literary, linguistic, intercultural, and methodological skills. By working with the reading diary, the focus was placed on the students with their thoughts, experiences, ideas, and problems. And this experience triggered a high learned motivation and contributed to a real engagement with the literary text. It was also crucial for effectiveness that the reading process was continuously monitored and supported by feedback. Through this work, the students have become aware that planning and documenting is important for their individual reading work. The use of the reading diary instrument when reading full literary texts in the foreign language thus leads to an awareness of the importance of reading and writing culture. Yes, I have to say, as Dr. Karkun said to be a good translator, and I said to be a good teacher as well, we have to read and write a lot in the foreign language. Thank you very much for listening me.
We thank you, ma'am, for your encouragement and kind words. Thank you for taking the time off out of your schedule to grace this event. Your association with our university encourages Amity University to broaden the expanse of our relations even more by maintaining them worldwide. It was truly an honor and a privilege to have you as a speaker in this international workshop. We look forward to have you as a member in more such of events and workshops.
Thank you so
It was our
much. Thank you so much for having joined and for having collaborated with us. We would also like to work on Erasmus exchange as desired by our Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor. But I really agree with you. When we were small in our schools in the 60s, writing a diary was really focused on. And now it has all of a sudden from 80s, writing a diary has actually evaporated from our curriculum. And as you said, the diary of Anne Frank in our times in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s was basically read by all students to understand history, culture, and the emotions of Anne Frank. And from your talk today, I think our participants will realize the importance of writing a diary. So thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. My pleasure. Have a good week.
It was a privilege to hear both of our eminent speakers. But the webinar won't serve its purpose if the audience would be in doubts and confusion. We are opening the platform for everyone to ensure we clarify everybody's doubts and see if our audience has to say something. You may raise your hands or write in the chat box in order to get an opportunity to speak. The platform is all yours. Anyone who has questions may raise their hands. Since we haven't received any questions yet, we request the participants to send their queries on WhatsApp group and we'll forward it to ma'am.
As we all know that without feedbacks, the process of communication is not complete. I would request you all to give the feedback which is shared to you through WhatsApp in priority of your time. Thank you so much to give your valuable feedback. It means a lot.
We thank all the dignitaries, resource persons, faculty, as well as student coordinators for making this event a success. We wish you safety and good health in these difficult times. We hope that this program will be an opportunity to expand our learning together. I would like to welcome Ms. Bhamini Mishra, BA Honours English 4th semester, to give the vote of thanks.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Greetings, everyone. Wishing you all a very pleasant evening. Thankfulness is the beginning of gratitude. Gratitude is the completion of thankfulness. It is my immense pleasure to have been given the opportunity to extend my gratefulness towards all of you. I must remark a proficient sense of thankfulness to our speakers of the day, Professor Kavita Rastogi ma'am and Dr. Sival Aine Karakabe, for making this an intuitive workshop by sharing their valuable experiences in different fields and for enlightening us with their knowledge. I am deeply grateful to our distinguished director, Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray, for enlightening us. Ma'am, you never fail to impress us. I extend my heartiest thanks to our faculty organizing team for their encouragement in all our projects. No words are enough to thank and praise our wonderful anchors of the day, Ms. Nashra Khan and Ms. Vanshika Avasthi. Congratulations for hosting such a wonderful session. A bundle of gratitude and appreciation towards our student organizing team for their hard work and efforts in putting up such engaging and educational workshop. Last but not the least, I am grateful to such a wonderful audience for their precious time and attention. Thank you to each one of you. Hope you have a pleasant evening ahead.
This brings us to the end of the sixth day of the International Workshop. Stay tuned with us. Tomorrow, that is 28th March 2023, we have Professor N. Lakshmi Iyer and Dr. Amrendra Kumar Srivastav as the guest speakers. We'll again meet you tomorrow, wishing everyone a fruitful day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much.